All right, yesterday we discussed Mashiach and how Mashiach is going to come and basically make a new world. And it says that then the moon is going to be filled. The moon will be, the Jewish people are compared to the moon. And sometimes they're in exile and sometimes they're with full. It says the full moon, this is going to be the time of the redemption. It's going to be full. So the Rebbe said, but one second, in another place we see that the future redemption is compared to the beginning of the month, the birth of the moon, when there's just a sliver of the moon, when the moon is not full at all. It's just coming from total darkness, the end of the previous month, and going to the next month, which is just a little sliver, the birth of the moon. So which one is it? Is it the full moon or just the beginning of the moon? New moon. So the Rebbe said, well, there's a big advantage to this thing of the new moon. Big advantage to beginnings. Because a beginning, even though it has no personality to it, like a newborn baby. So a beginning, you can't really see what's going to come out of it. But on the other hand, the jump that it makes from nothing to something, right? A child, when it's in the womb of the mother, it's not a child anymore. It can't be, it's not in the world. And as soon as it comes out, that's the birthday. The birthday is a big thing that comes in contact with the world. So that, in a way, is the really connection between Mashiach. Namely what? That Mashiach, here it is. Like, Mashiach is going to reveal godliness in the world. What is God? On one hand, you can understand a lot about God. That's all these Kabbalistic books and Hasidut. But on the other hand, when it comes right down to it, it's impossible to understand anything about God. All we can understand is certain facets of God that have been revealed to the Kabbalists or whatever, but that's just the outside of the outside of the outside, just something to enable us to make us understand how far away we are from understanding God. Right? If you think you understand what God is, you think you have it pretty much figured out. So you look in the books of Hasidut and Kabbalah and you read, there's all these upper worlds, these worlds where the angels are and things. Well, this is really freaky, the upper worlds, this is really amazing. So now you start learning about the upper worlds. Now I got it. I was wrong before what I thought God is. Now I see that God is. He says, those upper, there's, what did you just learn about? The upper worlds is not. You just learned about the lowest aspect of the upper worlds. There's higher aspects. And as high as you go, and the greater aspects, Yetzirah, Bria, Atzilus, you realize there's infinitely higher. And all of this business with the worlds and levels, that's just creation. That's just the creator. That's infinitely far away from the creator. So no matter how spiritual, how high you get, God is always going to be called der Eibishter, the highest. The Elyon, the highest of all. And this is like understanding God like a child, like a newborn child. When the child says that God is the Eibishter, the highest, it doesn't mean to say that he's giving a description to God and that he understands how high God is. All he knows is that whatever he understands, God is above that. In addition to this, God is above everything. As I don't understand what that means. All I know is that God is. What this means, God is, I have absolutely no idea. He creates the world. He creates me. That's just an aspect of God. How it is he creates me, I don't know. He creates the angels. He creates the stars. He creates the upper worlds, all these upper levels of consciousness and awareness. These are just creations of God. So I don't know what God is, but I know that God is. There must be he's the creator. At least that's what I believe. Well, and the truth is, really, you can't say that God exists. You can't say an Indian, some sort of an aspect of God or something about God, because Shagam B'Tevot Elu, these words, you're trying to define God some way. And even though that it's an obligation to try to understand as much as God as you can, and it's an obligation to love God. You can't love God if God is just this amorphous blob, that has nothing to, and we know that God is one of the characters of the Bible. Moses speaks to him, Abraham speaks to him, Noah speaks to him, Bilam speaks to him, right? And Lavan, Bilam was an angel, but Lavan spoke to him. So we know that God does speak, and that God does create, and that God does get angry. God brought the flood, and that God answers our prayers, so that God is sort of like a human being, right? Yeah, you're right, sort of. Sort of. So, but that's just aspects of God. We have no idea what the essence of God is, because God creates all being. God creates all definitions. Can't define God. God creates all consciousness, whatever. But because that's why everybody's souls jumped out of their bodies in Mount Sinai. They're jumped because God was revealed. The reality, we're not just talking about the idea, the philosophical idea of what God is and what is infinity. It's so difficult. That's all we're talking about. That if we're talking about that's sort of more removed. We're saying God is so removed from reality. He's like so philosophical. We can't understand. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that God is so real that we can't possibly grasp him. Our reality is just like a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of the reality of the creator. And the billionth, that's also ridiculous to say. Maybe it's even blasphemy. Because you can't compare our reality, what's real to us, to what's God. When at Mount Sinai, when God revealed his real reality, it says that everybody's souls jumped out of their bodies. Everybody's comfort zones were totally destroyed. But we just have to use certain terms, because it's a commandment to talk about God and to praise God. So therefore we can say that God exists. Like the Alter Rebbe says, that the God is the Ma'or Ubizkalis. God is the illuminator. And the God, the illuminator, he's found below just like above. It was God created the world. He concealed himself. He hid himself. He contracted himself. Right, wrong. God did not contract himself, and he didn't. God concealed his light. He contracted his light. And even that he didn't do in a simple way. He didn't contract his light. God's light is also infinite. God has figured out this way to conceal his light. But God himself is revealed everywhere. We just don't see it because we're creations. And therefore, but little children, they know that God exists, that there is. And exactly the opposite, that all existence, God is so incredibly real that we can't comprehend how real he is. And all the other existence are just like things that exist. They're just like shadows, of God's true existence. Okay, as a result of this, if so, there's a difference between a child and an older person also. How a person, a mature person, connects himself to God, and how a child connects himself to God. By a person, a grown-up person, a tzaddik, a genius, tzaddik, holy Jew, that he connects himself to God. Shiodeim, maybe, that he understands the highness of God. Because he knows that God is not Yetzirah, and he's not Bria, and he's not Atzilus, and God is. He understands this, so he does it. How can he understand God? His connection to God is by knowing Hafshata, to remove the Shlilit Mitziyuto. God is not that. God is not wise like I understand wisdom. God is not great in any way that I understand what greatness is. But God is certainly, he's the source of all greatness. He's the source of all wisdom. But it's not any type of greatness or wisdom that I can understand. So by means of removing my understanding, then, and even more, I have to remove my whole certainty that I exist. How do I do that? Self-sacrifice. I'm totally self-sacrifice myself to the Creator. Is creating me. I don't really have any real existence of my own. God is creating me. Gam as then, harizeh moser nafsho, he gives his will over to God. That's what an older person does. Rebbe Akiva, Avram Avinu, we'll talk about later, but let's say Rebbe Akiva, a tremendous genius, whatever, which is not the case by a child. That's by an older, mature, holy, genius person, which is not the case by a child, a Jewish child, that by a little child, he doesn't have to remove anything. By a child, it's obvious that God exists and that God is totally not in the category of understanding. The illuminator, that God is revealed. This is above sham. This is above any sort of comprehension or idea that he reads in the Rambam or somewhere that God exists. By a child, it's obvious. A child doesn't connect to God through any sort of understanding. By a child, a Jewish child, all of his being is just connected to God. It's automatically revealed in every aspect, in how he eats, how he drinks. You tell a little child, make a blessing to God, he'll make it. Right? He understands that God is, it's the most simple thing in the world. Listen, a little child, a couple of years ago, he wasn't even here in the world. And suddenly and everything he has, he realizes it's an amazing gift. He couldn't talk a few years ago. He couldn't walk a few years ago. All of a sudden, where does it all come from? He knows that it doesn't come from himself. Where does it come from? He knows that it's not from me. It's not from my parents, right? There must be some force that's really, really good that's creating me. It can't be spiritual, because spiritual is not going to be able to give me eyes and know that spiritual doesn't care about me. What is spiritual must be that there's a God that creates the spiritual and he creates me and he cares about me and is infinitely incomprehensible. And that by a child, that's simple. That's his whole being. That's all he's got. An obvious thing. The signal of Torah Hasidus, let's explain the same thing about in Torah Hasidus. So in other words, what? It is a commandment to try to understand as much as possible about God, and it's a commandment to love God and a commandment to fear God. And you can't love and fear God unless you appreciate God. But on the other hand, you have to realize that this is all an amazing gift that God enables us to understand a little bit of him. That's called the ladder of Jacob, that we can approach God. We can go in the right direction. It's an amazing, miraculous gift that we can feel a responsibility to the creator of the universe, and we feel that there is a creator of the universe, and that we don't think about ourselves. That's the biggest gift of all, that you don't think about yourself. You don't think about going to heaven. You don't think about getting blessed. You don't think about getting rewarded. And you certainly don't judge other people, right? Well, I'm going to go to heaven. He's not going to go to heaven, right? All you think about, what does God want? That's all. What does God want? I don't understand what's going on over here, how it is that God is creating, but he is. It's an amazing miracle. I'm thankful every moment, everything that, but what does God want? He doesn't want me to just stand around and give thanks to him all the time. Sit on a mountain and go, That's not what God wants. Maybe from certain people he does, but for the Jewish people, for sure not. For the Jewish people, and the fact of the matter is for the rest of the world, not. Also, God wants people to be fruitful and multiply. He wants to have family. Let's try to have a family. But sign the Torah of Chassidus, Eitzel Gadol Yisrael, a great. Let's learn and lay a little bit sort of Kabbalistic understanding. By a person who was a big tzaddik, his main connection to God is by means of these levels of revelations, and not through the essence of his soul. If you want to be a big tzaddik, you have to learn a lot of Torah. You have to do a lot of commandments. This is already an expression of your soul. This is not the essence of your soul. That the attachment of a Jew that wants to be holy and wants to sanctify himself, this is according to his level of understanding and grasping in his mind and in his emotions of his heart. And even higher, to attach his will and his pleasure to God. That's a normal, mature, holy Jew. Till he gets to the ultimate, complete attachment to God by means of this level of yechida of the soul. Just like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, these people. That after, there's 5 levels of the soul. It says 5 names of the soul. A name indicates that it must be some sort of a description or a definition. So there's the highest essence of the Jewish soul, which is called Yechida, which is really indescribable, but it still does have a name. It's called Yechida. Shekol Ratzon v'Chefzo. This, when a Jew realizes this level of his soul, and the Rebbe is going to say that this is not the essence. This is just a level, highest level of the soul, that all he wants is to go out of his being and devote himself totally to the creator of the universe. That's this level of Yechida, the highest level of the soul. You reveal this, you're going to be like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Says Moshiach reveals this in everybody. He's the level of Yechida. Which is not case by a child, a 3-year-old child. His kashrus to Kodesh Baruch Hu, his attachment to God is etzem and neshama, from the essence of his soul. Above all these 5 names. Even above this, what we said, a portion of God from above, the godly soul. Now it's true, a child can also be very gullible. That's a big problem. And children can also be they're very vulnerable to the temptations and the confusion and the lie of this world. So therefore you have to have education so that they shouldn't get sidetracked. But the essence of a Jewish child, his essence being, he knows there's God. There's no doubt about it. He's certain. And he's certain that God is something that's totally, totally beyond and above any description or understanding or title or level. It's just obvious. God is just infinitely real. And that's a child. So a little child in some ways a Jewish child has revealed a level in his soul which is higher, and I want to call it higher, more true than a tzaddik. Because the child, he realized that God is not a level of holiness. God is not a level of spirituality or a level of mystery, and you get up to higher levels and the inner chambers and the what is it, the spheres, and no, God creates all that stuff, all these upper levels, and that same God that creates all these upper worlds, he's creating me too. A child feels this. He doesn't know anything about the upper levels. He just knows how I got here is a miracle, how the world is a miracle, and there must be a creator that's creating this miracle. So God is not a miracle. He's not a level. God creates all of, and a child knows this simple, obvious knowledge. To a Jewish child, okay, good. So a child, so I'm not a child. What do you want from me? Says, I'll explain this, what the Rebbe is trying to get to as far as me and you. Hatchalat Yom, the beginning of the day of every single Jew. And the Rebbe wanted this to be in all the schools, all they say public schools in America. The Rebbe wanted every Gentile child to say this. Because I'm not sure that this thing is much different between a Jew and a non-Jew. I think a non-Jewish child, if he's not exposed to all the confusion of the world, is also certain that God exists. Certain, there's no doubt about it. How it's explained to him, what this means, and how it's explained with the church, with all these things and confusing everything and twisting everything around. And also he gets such information that God doesn't exist. The whole feeling is just a big, ignore it. Ignore it. It's not, you're never going to get anywhere, right? So you're never going to get anywhere with this God business and relying on God. You have to rely on yourselves, and you have to be a shark, and you have to this. But nevertheless, deep inside every human being, especially every child, before they get, what are they called? Jaded, but there's a word for it. They get defiled. Their minds become twisted, dirtied, as they know that there's God. They know that there's God. The beginning of the day for each and every Jew, from small until big, is saying Modeh Ani Lefanecha. And this is a Jewish custom, which everybody should know. I think there's a lot of non-Jews also that listen to these classes. So this is the thing that the Rebbe wanted that every human being in the world should say, especially beginning with the children. And you say it the first thing when you wake up in the morning. First thing that you wake up in the morning, it says you sit up and you say, Modeh Ani Lefanecha, Melech Chai V'Kayom. How much it's a statement that you say that has how many 15 words in it or something like that. You can count it. Let's see. Let me count it. One second. I never counted it. One moment. How many words are in this statement? In Hebrew. You don't have to say in Hebrew. I'm going to translate it for you in English. What do you say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 words. 12 words in Hebrew. Modeh Ani Lefanecha, Melech Chai V'Kayom, Shechazarta Bi Nishmati, Bechemla Rabba Emunatecha. Translation. Modeh Ani. I am surrendering myself to you. Also, I'm thankful to you. I'm grateful to you. I am grateful before you. Modeh, grateful. Ani, I am. Lefanecha, before you. Melech Chai V'Kayom, a king that is alive and existing. Melech Chai V'Kayom, a living, existing king. God, you're the king, right? Shechazarta Bi. Why do you say it first thing in the morning? Because I'm grateful to you, God, the eternal, living God. You returned, you gave me, you put into me, Nishmati, my soul. Bechemla, with great mercy. Rabba Emunasecha, great is your faith in me. You have great faith in me. You've given me back my soul, despite what I did yesterday. You're giving me back my soul. You're saying, so in English, let's say it again. I am grateful. I stand grateful before you, living, existing God, that you gave me back my soul with mercy. Your faith is great. So every human being should be saying this in the morning. The Rebbe wanted it to be put in the schools. He wanted a minute of prayer that everyone should say. This is a totally non-denominational prayer. A creator, God, thank you for giving me my soul back. Right? In the morning, God gives us our soul back. He gives it back also to animals and to things like that, but they can't give thanks. So that's what it says. Every Christian should say, Modeh Ani, I am grateful to you, immediately when he wakes up from his sleep. Namely, that the foundation of the service of God the whole rest of the day is surrendering yourself and giving thanks, gratefulness to the creator of the universe, that if it wasn't for you, God, I wouldn't even be alive. I wouldn't even wake up. You gave me the rest of the day. Thank you. Ad kedei kach so much. Before a person feels ani, what does it say? Grateful am I before you. Before he feels his I, he already feels this gratitude. Bittul voda. Thankful am I before you, God. Modeh, thankful, ani, am I. So before he expresses his I, the first thing he says is he's grateful. Modeh. Shezeh bittul, this means total surrender and giving thanks and gratitude that comes from the essence of the soul. You're not saying, I am grateful to you, God. I means I understand, so I'm grateful. You're saying, grateful am I. First thing is grateful. Afterwards comes the I. Not because of a feeling that he feels his I, and therefore I'm grateful, right? I am grateful. Is grateful am I. So we can say that this whole thing is also hinted at the word modeh. Modeh means grateful. This is in the gematria, and the word grateful is the gematria of hein, yes. Hein. Sheromez al etzem shelasham akavana etzem aneshama. This represents on the essence of the soul. Yesh lomar, like it says, hein am badad. Hein means they are. They are the Jewish people are a nation that stands alone. Hein, they are. Hein also means lava hein. Etzem shalamayim, this is the essence, the level of yechida, which is attached to the essence of God. And that's like it says, hein l'Hashem elokecha shamayim, because yes to the heavens, to God, and is the heavens and the earth and everything that's in it. Hein shows this is a level which is before God created anything. L'mayla mi'avai elokecha, above any names of God. That's moda. Hein, yes. Allah has kama v'kama, what's more so, above heavens and the highest levels of heavens. Kivet shagam yechida, even this level, we said of the highest level of the soul, this is just a name of God, and it's not the essence of the soul. How much, therefore, we have to say that this modeh that we say, grateful am I before you. The grateful modeh, this comes before I and before you. The gratitude comes before myself, before any aspects of myself that I understand, that I realize. This is before even this level of yechida of the soul. We're going to talk about this more next time. This comes from the essence of the soul. We're going to have to stop here. The essence of the soul. And this is attached with the essence of God, like the child. So we can say that this is especially when a person wakes up from his sleep. When a person wakes up from his sleep, he's like a newborn child. Even before he starts to say anything, Modeh ani lefanecha, he wakes up. Nevertheless, he wakes up in the morning, he already has this feeling of surrender to God. Why? Because before he moves his lips, before he does anything, nevertheless, he wakes up, means that his existence, all of a sudden I'm here. Before his existence, and before he says anything, it's revealed suddenly his existence. There he is, he opens up his eyes, here I am. It's totally, that's not understandable. He goes out from, so to speak, nothingness, from sleep until being revealed in the world. It's like birth. That because a person suddenly realizes that where does my existence come from? Where am I from? He says that he realizes my existence must come from this creator. It's before he says anything. And this is the example of the Jewish people. It says the Jewish people and God are totally one. That's supposed to be waking up the essence of which is in him. So now we can understand that what it means when a person wakes up from his sleep means that his soul, the essence of his soul, suddenly becomes revealed. This is the foundation for all the service of the God the rest of the day. A person has to remember the rest of the day that I come from nothing. All of a sudden I woke up. And I have to remember that everything I have is a gift from God. First of all, by remembering this, I have a surrender, and I'm giving thanks to this level of my soul, which is Modeh ani lefanecha. I'm giving thankful am I before you. Okay, now all the rest of this is talking about Jewish people, the blessings that we make in the order of our prayer, and we're going to have to go over this tomorrow. But the orders that we make in our prayer, we say, Elokai neshama shenasata bi tohorahi. We say the soul that you put in me is pure, and you it says you created it, you formed it, you blew it into my nostrils. These are the levels of the soul. The soul is tahora, that's atzilut. Atabarata is bria. Yetzarta, you blew it into my soul, that's asiya. That's the four levels of the four worlds. This corresponds to the four names of the soul, chaya, neshama, ruach, nefesh, the 5 levels of the soul. The essence is yechida, but the other levels are called chaya, neshama, ruach. And after that, all the other 15 blessings in the morning that we make. Thank you, God, that you gave me eyes that I can see, and that you enabled, and that you enabled me to wake up. These are all different blessings, things that happen in the world. I can put on my clothes, I can stand up straight. These are all details. The blessings that come afterwards, these are details. This corresponds to what the 4 levels of the worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Yetzir, and Asiya. And then after that, we request what we need, right? Things that a person needs. Give me asli called tzarchi. You gave me everything that I need, and you gave me shoes, and I can walk. And after this, there's the service in the world. After you go to synagogue and you pray, and then afterwards you go to learn Torah, and then afterwards you go to your business. Okay, but the foundation of the whole entire day is this renewal, that you woke up in the morning from nothing. And before you even say ani, I, you say modeh. Grateful am I, surrendered am I to you. You know, it's something which is above my understanding, but here I am. And before I even understand what this means, my first impulse in the day is to be thankful to the Creator. So first of all, this is like the birth of the moon. This is like the future redemption by means of the Moshiach. It says that's what we say in our prayer. Haim, the Jewish people and the world, atidim litchadesh kamo. The Jewish people are going to be new like the moon, similar like the new moon, and not the full moon. And we're going to talk about this, God willing, more tomorrow. Let's just do, and then you'll know. So what do we say? The novelty of the new moon is that it comes something from nothing. And that coming something from nothing, only God can do. And this is really what's happening every moment, that this should be the foundation of our life. And that's what Mashiach is going to do. Make us reveal that every moment is brand new, every moment is exciting and filled with potential. There was a great tzaddik, and his name was, but he was also a big chassid, a follower of the first Rebbe of Chabad. And he said, when I came to Liazon, I met the older chassidim that had been followers of the Maggid and Mezrich and Mendel of Horodak. Anyway, they used to say like this: if you have love for a fellow Jew, God will love you. If you do a good deed for a fellow Jew, God will do a good deed for you. And if you are friendly with a fellow Jew, God will befriend you. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, God willing, 3:00, we'll learn the portion of the week. Today, we're going to learn about what we started to learn in Chassidut, how Yaakov tricked his father to give him the blessing that his father wanted to give to Esau. Have a good day with Mashiach now.